Hey there, I am back with another deck review, and today we're going to be looking at Back to the Future from Bicycle Playing Cards. This deck is an officially licensed deck inspired by my favorite movie growing up, Back to the Future. I love the stories of Marty McFly as he traveled throughout time in his DeLorean across the three-movie trilogy. Whether it was the first movie where he traveled back to 1955 where he met his parents as teenagers, or the second movie where he traveled into the future, or the third movie that saw him in the Old West, all three of them featured iconic characters and lines that stick with me to this day. So I knew when I saw this deck announced, it was going to be one I was going to pick up as soon as I could, and here we are. So let's get right into it and check out Bicycle's treatment of this classic. So the tuck box is done on a matte blue cardstock covered with two colors of foil. You can see that electric blue and that bright, vibrant silver. Great mixture here. And it features some nice subtle embossing to give the tuck box just that extra little bit of feel to it. Really nice artwork on this one. Of course, you get the classic bicycle banner fixture of pretty much any bicycle deck that you see. But then you get the Back to the Future and that classic font in the bottom. And some nice line work featuring the DeLorean. So that was the car that housed the flux capacitor and what was used for time travel. And then the image of the clock tower in the back, another iconic symbol from the first movie. If you've seen it, you know what that's all about. And then the lightning storm crashing in the background. Again, kind of a bit of a plot element there featured in the background. Extra little Easter eggs as you go all the way around the border, kind of made to look a little bit like tire tracks of the DeLorean. And then you get things like the clocks in the corner, and then the radioactive symbols in the other two corners. So the original DeLorean was actually powered by plutonium. And then you get powered by flux capacitor at the top, and then the inventor of the time machine, Doc Brown's favorite exclamation, "Great Scott," at the bottom. And you can see the little out of time license plate spinning there on the side. So great design elements and little details to pick up all the way through. Sides, a little bit more classic bicycle feel. You get the air cushion finish made in the USA on one side, and then the United States Playing Card Company on the other. Bottom features just some ad copy and a barcode, giving a hint this is probably going to be a deck that you'll see at a lot of different retailers. And then at the top, it says playing cards, and then underneath the seal here, can't really see it, but features a little image of the DeLorean again. Back has your foiled and embossed version of the back design of the cards. We'll of course more of those details in a second, and finishes out with that metallic silver seal emblazoned with the image of the flux capacitor there. Some simple ad copy on the inner flaps and nothing printed on the interior of the tuck. That finishes out what I think is a great tuck box. Some good colors on it. The foil really pops. Just a big fan of what they did on that one. But let's see if they're able to bring it forward in the cards. And we'll start with the back design. So doesn't feature the foiling, so it has a little bit flatter, darker of a look, but obviously all done in that line art style. And the main highlight's going to be the image of the DeLorean. So this was a car that wasn't super well known at the time, but it became iconic specifically as a result of this movie. And its main design feature that everybody remembers are those doors, those wing doors that opened up and gave that really iconic look to it overall. And so there you see the DeLorean featured on each side, doors open and at the ready. In the center here, you have an image of the flux capacitor. This is actually the one element that makes the whole card design a one-way back design. And then lots of extra little elements for fans of the movies to pick up. Like you see the 88 there. It's a reference to the fact that the DeLorean had to be traveling 88 miles per hour to travel through time. Or really tiny here, you can see the 1.21 gigawatts, or gigawatts as they said in the movie. Fun little story about that. So a lot of people wonder why in the movie they say gigawatts instead of gigawatts. And that's because the science consultant on the movie, of all people, he pronounced it gigawatts for some reason. And then nobody on the set knew any better, and so it became gigawatts. So that's how that came about. And then you get those little symbols around the edges, the clocks, those radioactive symbols. And then the blue borders here have lots of extra little secrets. Things like the out-of-time license plate, the cassette tape. It was an 80s movie after all. And then you even get the little dates here. So the movie took place in two different time periods. You had 1985, or October 26, 1985. And then when Marty traveled back in time, he went to November 5th, 1955. And you see those two dates on either side of the clock tower from Hill Valley. So very cool look to it. Finishes out with a kind of fatter white poker border. Lots of detail in here. Definitely a little bit crowded and muddled of a back design, objectively speaking. You know, it's hard to pick out all those details. Doesn't look quite as cohesive as it could have. But as a fan of the movie, I just enjoyed picking out all those little details. So worth it to me. All right, but now on to the faces. And we'll start with the Diptych Joker. I always love a good Diptych Joker. This one features some line art, image of the DeLorean speeding its way in front of that clock tower, the storm crashing in the background with the bolts of lightning, and then Joker in the two corners. Would have liked a little bit more color on this one, and caught a little bit of what I think is a mistake on this one. So the DeLorean actually evolved as you went through the three movies, and I think this is an image of the DeLorean that features some parts that are actually not added until the second movie. And so right here, you can see this little bit right here on the back. I think this is the trash compactor that they added that was able to convert food into fuel. And I don't think that got added to the second movie. Or I guess maybe the very, very, very end of the first movie, but into the second movie. So a little bit of an oddity. Doesn't really detract from the overall art of the card, but small thing I noticed. All right, but there's your Diptych Jokers. Always love a Diptych Joker. And then two ad cards in this one. So the first one, a bicycle ad card, kind of a Back to the Future placard in the style of the Tuck Box. And then a cool little cassette tape ad card with side A here featuring Back to the Future, Universal, Amblin Entertainment. And then flipping to side B, you get the social links for bicycle. So cool little way to kind of fit the ad card into the theme. Ace of Spades is going to be your power ace. Features the large spade pip in the center with the Back to the Future text, and then a line art drawing of the rear of the DeLorean as it kind of drives off down the road into the distance. Nice little bit of artwork, really fine details on this one. And then a little bit of ad copy at the bottom. I like the idea for the font in the corner there. So this one, the A you'll see there is made up of an arrow that's sort of pulled out of the Back to the Future text down here. And then kind of a classic spade pip. And then you get the extra little borders and that silver ink. They give you the DeLorean perched in the corner there with the extra little tire track style borders. So nice little look to them. The other three aces feature the silver line art drawing in the center with other little elements that you may remember from the movie, like the Welcome to Hill Valley sign. So that's where Marty and his family lived. There's the clock tower featured as the backdrop for the Ace of Clubs. And the Ace of Hearts features another look at the DeLorean with the clock face in the background. There's your aces. Number cards, all pretty standard by comparison. You do get that border on the edges just like the other cards, the style on the index there in the corner, but otherwise pretty classic layout to the cards. Not quite exactly the same pips you'll find like in a bicycle deck. They're a little bit smaller, but nothing too out of the ordinary or notable on these. Just nice, pretty standard usable number cards. So there's your clubs and then into your hearts. So that's the number cards, but you know we're going to get treated to some of the characters as we get into the court cards, and here they are. So they're done in kind of a line art style of the faces here, and kind of reminiscent of the poses you'll find on classic court cards, but of course done up to look like characters from the movie. Now, honestly, not the best depiction. So like here in the Jack of Diamonds, we're looking at Marty McFly. Doesn't really look that much like him, but there's enough little details in here that definitely bring it forward and make sure that you know that it's him. You get the skateboard. He loved to skateboard, always with the Walkman in his ears, and of course the classic red vest. So if you've seen the movie, you've definitely seen that red vest before. So there's Marty in 1985, but then you can also get a depiction of Marty in 1955 on the Jack of Hearts. Now he traveled back in time himself, so he's the same age, but 1955 featured a classic scene where he busts out the red guitar and plays Johnny Be Good on stage. And so one of the classic scenes in the movie that's given a treatment on the Jack of Hearts. And I love the idea of featuring the same character in both of the eras across the courts. That's kind of carried forward with a bunch of the other courts, like the Kings here of Spades and Clubs respectively, feature the look at Doc Brown. First in 1985 with his remote control here that he used to test out the DeLorean as he was tinkering and inventing it. And him back in 1955. Not really looking any younger, but this was him when he first came up with the idea for the flux capacitor. So the story went that he banged his head on the edge of a countertop or on the edge of a sink. That's with the bandage there. And then when he came to, he had this brilliant flash of innovation, had the idea for the flux capacitor, got to work, and you can see the blueprints there in his hands. Now, wild hair, definitely a dead giveaway that it's Doc Brown. The Queen of Diamonds and Hearts feature Marty McFly's mom, Lorraine McFly. So Lorraine, here in 1985, so this is obviously after she's been married a long time, has a little classic element from the early part of the movie, the Welcome Home Uncle Joey cake. Her brother was about to get out on parole, and so they had baked a cake to celebrate. But you can see her there with that weathered look. But here's her back in 1955 as a young and beautiful high schooler. Leads to some sort of interesting hijinks in the movie because she ended up, when Marty traveled back in time, his own mother, not knowing that he was a time traveler, of course, kind of had a crush on Marty, and so he had to deal with that and preserve the timeline. So that's pretty much what the whole movie is basically preserving the timelines from getting changed. All right, so two of the other courts now feature two looks at George McFly. So we saw Marty's mom. Of course, we got to see his dad as well. Definitely a nerdy, nebbish character. You can see the glasses and the pocket protector on the 1985 version. And then in 1955, we get, I'll call him George the Bird Watcher. You'll know what that's a reference to if you've seen the movie. But he has those huge binoculars in his hand there and that far off look in his eyes. And then we get to one of the other iconic characters across the movies. This is Biff Tannen, the bully. Well-known bully, and in the first movie, particularly beats up on George McFly, Marty's dad. So here's Biff as an older man in 1985, and then as a young high school jock in 1955. So of course got to include Biff in this one. And then the last two courts aren't pairs of each other, but include some more minor characters from the movie. So first you get Marty's sister. This is Linda from 1985. She's got the classic brick cell phone there, or brick phone there, and then the Hill Valley letter jacket. And then the Queen of Clubs. This character doesn't have a name. She's just known as the Clock Tower Lady. She was the one, if you've seen the movie, so the clock tower was actually struck by lightning, and so she's made it her mission to help raise money to preserve the clock tower. And so she's got the cup there for the Save the Clock Tower Fund. And of course, it features a little image of the clock face there in her outfit. So cool little addition. Love that a couple of minor characters were added in, although I think it was a little bit of a miss not to include Jennifer, who is Marty's girlfriend. So I think that was a little bit of a miss. Probably could have done without Linda being included, maybe replace her with Jennifer. But still interesting to see a couple of more minor characters included. And that is it. That is the deck. So a lot of fun and bits of nostalgia. Not perfect artwork on the court cards. You know, they're not exact depictions, but definitely close enough to recognize the characters. A little bit of a busy back design, but I think I'm nitpicking here. You know, as a nostalgia deck, this one really hits a lot of great marks. As far as handling, bicycle deck, so you know what to expect with this one. It handles just like you would expect. Very smooth handling. No complaints on that front. And that is the deck. So, you know, it's a great gameplay deck, especially for that Back to the Future fan in your life. So many details to pick up on, and worth it on that front alone. But anyway, that's it for now. Hope you enjoyed this look at Back to the Future from Bicycle. I'll put a link down in the description where you can pick this up. It's going to be in retailers in a lot of different places, so definitely an easy one to pick up if you like what you see here. But anyway, make sure to subscribe for more deck reviews, more unboxings. Let me know what else you want to see, and I'll see you for the next one.